All right, I call this meeting of the Mount Vernon Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we need a motion to certify the agenda. Motion made by Robert, seconded by Scott. All four. That's 6-0. Let the record show that at this time, Linda is not present. Probably will be. And at this time, Brooke will lead us in a prayer.
Pray with me. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight seeking your wisdom and your guidance as we do the business before us. Help us have open hearts and open minds as we seek to do what is best for our school district and our community. Lord, please be with everyone as they leave tonight. Keep everyone safe on their way home. And these things I ask your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen. Let's do our pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, Dr. McCullough, we got some recognitions.
We do. We're going to start with student recognitions, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Ms. Jester and allow her to share with us what our students have done.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and I'm going to come and show off their boards, but we have some science fair awards that my students are going to be receiving today, and we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll let Ms. Huizinga kind of go through and see what they placed and how they did.
Well, hello, I'm Susan Huizinga. I am the elementary science consultant at Region 8. And so I'm super excited to present some science fair awards. Something super terrific happened this year. In all of the years I've been at Region 8, which I'm going on 8 now, we've never had a school do this well and earn 3 of our top places in the same grade level. And so that was a pretty exciting deal. So we wanted to make sure and recognize these kids. So just to tell you a little bit about the Region 8 Science Fair, it is judged by the students at NTCC. They have a biology chem club so they did the judging. We did have to have a virtual fair this year. And so these kids made videos, and then we also had 5th graders that participated. I don't know if they're here. They couldn't make it. They couldn't make it. Okay. And so they sent them in, and then the judges watched the videos and judged them. We had 189 total entries. And just so you know, any district in all of Region 8, which is 46 school districts, participate. And each district only gets to send 4 students per grade level, which is a pretty big deal because Mount Vernon sends 4 in 5th grade, 4 in 6th grade, but so does Paris or Texarkana. So they're competing against schools of all sizes. So just to kind of tell you about that. With those 4 students, you can put them in all the same category. These are the different categories that they can compete in. So just wanted to recognize our 5th grade participants. So I don't know, Ms. Barnes, if you want to take their awards for them. But we have some ribbons of participation, we should say. Joe Blau did Talking to Plants, and then Annabella Talsma, she did Acid Rain versus plants and tested those. So if you will let them know, congratulations. Those were 5th graders, so yeah, we'll applaud. And then we also had our 4th 6th grader to present, to also participate, and that was Ureli and Narez, and she did Sugar and Tooth Decay. And so Ms. Jester, I will just give that to you to give to her. And then this is the most exciting part about these kids, because there are 3 categories. So these, I'm assuming, were strategically placed. And each one of these kids won 1st place in their category. So it is a really big deal. So we have behavioral biological category. 1st place went to Addison Pointer. She did Reveal It. So if you will come, Addison, right here. Congratulations. Congratulations, if you hold that and just pretend the Star Spangled Banner is playing right now, because you get a gold medal. Congratulations. And just because, I'm from Mount Vernon and I taught here 16 years, I had to just show you this because I'm proud. These were the top 6. So out of all the kids that compete, there are probably 40 or to 50 kids in this grade level. And you can see that these were our top 6. So to get first place for Mount Vernon was pretty exciting. So I had to show you that. Okay, then we had chemical physical 6th grade. First place again went to Sullivan Blue. Did I say that right? Right there. Okay, and this is one of the most interesting projects I've ever seen. Testing latex paint on the strength of cast versus an unreinforced concrete. Talk about an original idea. So Sullivan, come and give you your first place ribbon. Congratulations. And here you go, your gold medal. And again, you guys can see the comparisons of how we did. And then we also have an inventions category. And this is a pretty big deal again, because we normally don't have a lot of high schoolers participate in the science fair. So we lumped 6th grade. If you enter the inventions as a middle schooler, you're up against high school. So you're lumping 6th all the way through 12th grade. And as you guys kind of already know, Mr. Paul Bentley took first place over high schoolers. And again, a super original invention, a spring in my step. And this is one that, let me give this to you and put this on you, and then you might want to hold it like that. And then if you guys want to explain a little bit.
All right.
Y'all can just kind of summarize and tell them a little bit.
Good job. And again, you guys can see, we have big schools, little schools, everybody just gets to send 4, and so you guys were well represented overall, so good job.
Very good.
Paul, do you want to tell them really quick, just kind of summarize what you did?
All right. So, I play soccer, and so like sometimes whenever there are a bunch of people, you just kind of stick your foot in and kick it away, and that can hurt your toes, especially with the little thin cleats. So I decided to invent something that has to do with something I love, which is soccer, and makes it a bit easier and less painful and is helpful. So I put springs in the toes of some cleats. They're oversized so that you're not squished and you have space. So basically I put springs and then some fabric, so that a lot of cushioning. And when I tested them, I was like, these might not work, but then they worked surprisingly well. Like, I had a pain scale from 1 to 10, and here's the normal and here's the modified. And the normal hurt a lot, and the modified, honestly, I was just trying to give it points so that it didn't have 0 points on it.
Well, you won first place. You guys can just give us a quick rundown of yours?
So, good evening. My project was to see if the color on the outside of a flower was the same on the inside. And so I used really just like strips of chromatography paper, and I put the dye of the flower on it, and it worked.
Super unique. Very good.
Very good.
So what I did was, we had some old latex paint we had in like the corner of our barn in the mud. So we decided to test if it would strengthen and it would also work in concrete. So what we did was we had to mix up the paint again because it had separated. And then we made some paint chips because we dried it. And what we did was we would add all the things together And if we did liquid paint, we would take a little bit of water out. Then if we added the paint chips, we'd take a little bit of the concrete mix out. So it was kind of staying even. And then we got hydraulic press and pressed them until they snapped.
Wow. So again, thank you.
The cameras.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Very good.
All right, thank you guys.
Congratulations, students.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna do the March employees, teachers, staff members of the month, but we're gonna drop back to February real quick. We were not able to recognize one, so I'm gonna ask Miss Stephanie McIntosh to come down, please. Stephanie was selected as our auxiliary staff member of the month for February. And it says that she is a great asset to our staff. She works in our 7th and 8th grade library and fills in at various departments to help maintain a smooth day. Stephanie is always willing to help step up and assist in any capacity asked of her and volunteers her services anytime she sees a need. She works well with students and is a good role model for them. Stephanie is a great asset to our campus and we are lucky to have her. So February auxiliary staff member of the month, Ms. Stephanie McIntosh. Want to say anything?
Thank you. I didn't realize somebody wrote such a lengthy. It's really nice.
Very good. Congratulations. We're glad you're here. Thank you. We're going to stay with auxiliary staff member of the month. This time for the month of March, I'm going to ask Miss Maria Mendez to come down. Miss Maria is one of our custodians. Says she is a very hard worker. She goes above and beyond her regular duties as a custodian for the district. She is always busy and always seems to be happy. She cleans the elementary campus during the day along with her other duties without any complaints. She is a very nice person. She never says anything negative, and we are blessed to have her on our team, and her work is very much appreciated. So congratulations. Very good. Congratulations. Next, we'll do our elementary teacher of the month. That is Miss Lindsay Gable. Says Ms. Gable has gone above and beyond to boost the morale of our staff. Under her direction, we now have a sunshine committee that provides for each other in times of need. She organizes the committee meetings, monthly potlucks, and special treats for our staff. Ms. Gable puts in extra time and works very hard to make Mount Vernon Elementary School a special place to work. She also serves as the 4th grade ELAR team leader. We are blessed to have her as a part of our Mount Vernon Elementary School family. So, Ms. Lindsay. Want to say anything?
I just thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Next, for our middle school teacher of the month is Miss Carrie Barnes. Says Carrie Barnes teaches middle school science as well as STEM, robotics, and GT. With each and every group, she takes the time and effort to find lessons that are engaging and memorable. She is an amazing teacher. Students love her classes. She is inventive and always working to find the best way to reach all of her students. Ms. Barnes is a valuable team member as well. She reaches out to her colleagues to assist in any way she can and is well liked and respected. She always goes above and beyond for her colleagues and students. We are very proud and blessed to have Ms. Barnes as an important member of our middle school team. Ms. Carrie Barnes. You don't want to say anything?
No.
Okay. You were quick to get out of there. All right. High school is Miss Olivia Warris. says Ms. Flores is a vital part of the team of Mount Vernon High School, and you would be hard pressed to find anyone who is more serious about her role as a teacher or who works harder in the classroom. She is always prepared, organized, and effective. She does a great job of implementing her curriculum while carrying out campus initiatives with fidelity. Ms. Flores is a consummate professional and maintains an appropriate balance of challenging students with high expectations while also displaying empathy and understanding of individual circumstances. Students respond to her leadership and teaching style because they know she cares about them, but will also hold them accountable. She makes it a point to celebrate student success and recognize those who are working hard to reach expectations. She has the ability to inspire students to achieve their very best and to help them set great goals for their future, and she has a way of getting the best out of them, even the most difficult students. In addition to being a great classroom teacher, she serves as math department chair for the campus, does a great job of leading by example and making sure all of her professional responsibilities are taken care of in a timely and effective manner. We truly appreciate all that Ms. Flores brings to our students and our school, and she is most definitely worthy of being honored as Teacher of the Month. Words?
Just thank you. Very
Okay.
honored.
Thank you. Appreciate you very much.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Very good. Ladies, thank y'all very much. All right. Well, next, we want to take the opportunity tonight to recognize a very special group of ladies who, over basically the last 24 months, have done a phenomenal job with our school, with our students. They've really been a major part of helping make sure that we're able to stay in school, that our kids are here, that our kids are well taken care of, and they've seen a lot. From the highs and the lows to everything in between of anything that deals with COVID. And so there have been days that if you would have gone by their offices, you would have wondered what in the world are they even able to do, and how are they even able to breathe? Have they even had lunch? Have they even got to go to the restroom yet, just because of how busy they've been? And so we want to take the opportunity tonight to recognize them and to tell them thank you and to honor them. So I'm going to ask each one will come up. Ms. Renee Aiken. And there's two of you, just stand right there. We'll let everybody come down. We'll get one big picture. Miss Chastity Sharon. Congratulations. Miss Cassie Bays. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Tracy Decker.
I know, I'm upset about that.
And Miss Jennifer Summerall.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And again, their titles stay for outstanding service, correct? Make sure I got outstanding service. Again, these ladies have done a tremendous job from the reporting that has been required weekly to TEA and to the Department of Health, from seeing kids and talking to parents and communicating the changes that CDC throws at us during the time. What seemed like every week something was different. But these ladies have stood tall, they've done it, they've persevered, and they are, again, a big part of why we've been able to stay in school and miss a very limited number of days. And again, so ladies, we just want to take the opportunity to say thank you. We appreciate you very much for all that you do and being on the front line of what we've been going through the last 2 years with COVID, and we appreciate you very much. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
There you go.
I think any of y'all can speak in open forum, are you? Chandler's part of your speech, open forum,
No,
or you
sir.
just got?
I was just taking a moment while y'all were I was just getting set up because I knew you just have one.
Yeah,
item.
well, if we have no open forum at this time, we need to consider the item 4, consider the approval of the consent agenda. Any questions on that consent agenda?
You had 2 minutes, you got the minutes from both February meetings and tax collection report, monthly investment report.
I'll take a motion on that.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, you'll make the motion? Okay, I'll
That's
second
taken,
it.
I'll make it too.
I thought we were saying,
And it's seconded by Brooks. All four?
That's 7-0.
You think that's, you wait till it's coming in just a second. Number 5.
Yeah, yes.
Number 5, certify unopposed candidates for the May 7, 2022 general school trustee election.
Ms. Jessica will take care of that for us.
Okay.
As the authority responsible for having the official ballot prepared, I hereby certify that the following candidates are unopposed for election to office for the election scheduled to be held on May 7th, 2022.
Okay, that's all that's needed.
Okay.
All right.
Anything like that?
Thank you, Ms. Jessica. So,
Congratulations.
That's right. Congratulations.
thank you. Item 5, certify, item 6. I thought we did one for each of us. Just kidding. All right, number 6, public hearing, 2020-2021 Annual Texas Academic Performance Report, TAPR.
Thank you. It's so tiny. It's in workbook. No, y'all are so excited. I know you look forward to this every year. So there's the presentation is in board book, so that is on there. There's only one slide that's modified a little bit, and I'll tell you which one that is. There are some additional attachments that I'm going to reference, but not necessarily open. So again, more for your personal viewing as we go through this. Okay, so this does serve as our public hearing for our Texas Academic Performance Report for the 2021 school year. Again, just as a reminder that this is a performance of students for schools and districts across Texas. It does show the performance by student group, ethnicity, socioeconomic status. It also breaks down our district staff, our programs, and our student programs as part of that report. And part of the table report, it actually ties into our annual report. You do have a copy of that annual report in your board book. We will not open that up tonight. That is posted to our district website. It is available in hard copy format for anyone that does ask for that. So that is part of our annual report as well. Okay, going into the taper, the first page of the taper does break down the accountability rating for the district as well as the individual school ratings. Super excited to talk about this in a second. We did not have distinction designations this school year. We did have a determination of our special ed program, but for accountability ratings for 2021, those were not rated due to the disaster of the pandemic. But you did have an opportunity, if you were eligible, to apply for an alternative rating. And what that meant is that meant schools that were in targeted improvement, which, as you know, our elementary campus was in a targeted improvement plan because of their D rating. So was extremely bummed, of course, to have a pandemic happening right in the middle of all these great growth and changes we were doing at the elementary, to not be able to see that growth in the 2020 school year. So 2021 rolls around. We kept moving forward with everything we had in place in 1920. Cannot say more than extreme accolades for our teachers that continued with the plan. And so we're here in a pandemic. We have kids in quarantine. We have teachers quarantining with their own kids, with their classes, and we didn't miss a beat. So spring 2021 rolls around, and we were one of 88 schools across the state of Texas that was eligible to apply. So, getting goosebumps talking about it. Super excited. So, we put in the eligibility, and what they do is they look at that comparison, and that comparison broke down the student achievement and the school progress. And then they created a scale score, of course, that TEA used to determine if we made that score. And so based on that, we did meet the threshold. So our elementary campus and Mrs. Warren does have an acceptable rating now, and we are officially out of targeted improvement. And just to spotlight, I work, say it's a hard cross to bear. I call it a change agent position that I'm in because that tends to be what I do. And I always tell people it's 3 to 5 years. You really don't feel that impact. And it takes a dedicated campus, it takes a dedicated campus leadership team, and it takes a commitment of a school board to help to support those changes, and it will happen. And so it was exciting to watch that with everything that was going on in the variables, for that to keep moving forward, and then for them to receive that accomplishment. So looking forward to the spring, so of course, I'll be to the spring as well. So as our SPED, we did meet requirements for our special ed program. So since it's been a while since we've actually talked about STAR performance, I did want to take a minute to talk about how accountability works on that. The accountability subset that actually goes in our accountability rating, the student is on campus at snapshot date, which is that October PEAMS fall demographic snapshot, and they're with us for testing date. So that is how they look at it in that accountability subset that we're going to be talking about in the table report. So all of my data is based on that information coming in. It does rate all students. So it's always wonky because we get our summary reports and it shows the kids that tested with us. Then it takes the state a while to decipher kids that left us after snapshot and tested in other school districts. Did they move out of state? So by the time all of that information is sorted out, then we have the Texas Academic Performance Report. So then once we have final numbers, I go back and update the summary reports that I do kind of in the summer to then reflect true accountability percentages. So there's usually, I always say could be 1 to 2% fluctuation depending on mobility of kids. Sometimes a rate will change, sometimes it won't. But that's why there's always a little bit of a fluctuation between preliminary and final. So going into performance, grade 3, we have reading and math. Grade 4, reading, math, and writing for this spring, but that is concluded, so we will not have writing as a standalone. 5th grade, we add science. 7th grade writing as well is no longer going to be in there, so we kind of stay with that trend with reading and math. We get to grade 8. We have science and social studies, and we no longer have SSI promotion. So for those of you who are parents with 5th graders and 8th graders and you had to pass 5th and 8th grade, that has now gone by the wayside. So now they're still tracking that, but it's based on local decision making, whether a student promotes or retains. So STAR data is a piece of that, but we should also be looking at academic, attendance, all of the things we should be looking at anyway. But you do not have to have a 2nd and 3rd administration anymore for 5 and 8. Not the case with EOC. So end of course, which is the high school STAR assessment, for freshmen are so blessed because they have English 1, biology, and an algebra 1, so they do take 3 assessments as a freshman. Their sophomore year, they go into English 2, and then their junior year, they have U.S. history. And then through those end of course, they have 3 administrations every year, but you have constant retesters. It is a requirement in Texas to pass to graduate. The only way that you get out of that is if you are under an ARD committee, and an ARD committee determines that you do not have to, or you're in an exemption status. So it is a requirement to graduate in Texas. Okay, levels of performance. And this is one I get, this is a common question I get. Well, what's the difference in masters? What's the difference in meets? For us, for accountability, the goal is meets and masters. The masters, I call them the double pointers, because that is how our skill score increases, or the raw score that we accumulate. But the master's level, and I wanted you to see this because there's really just some keywords. Students can demonstrate the ability to think critically and apply the assessed knowledge and skills in varied contexts, both familiar and unfamiliar. And what I call that is that's not just high flyers, but it's truly higher order thinking, critically thinking. So think about a classroom that is doing a lot of higher order activities and pacing, that the student isn't just learning and regurgitating the content, but they are actually immersed in the content, and they're creating and they're producing things within that investigation and research. That's what hits that master's level, okay? Needs level, kind of what that does is it's still saying that they're on target, but you do see some students with meets that may have some targeted academic intervention need. I call those tier 2 kids, meaning that maybe they took the Algebra 1 test and there was maybe a section or maybe just a category that they struggled with a little bit. And with some really quick targeted intervention, we clean that up and they move on, okay? But they are on grade level and they're really in that applying the knowledge in their context, okay? Approaches level is where we see that they still have targeted academic intervention, but we're seeing a lot more need, and they're usually in intervention a little bit longer. There's still some application to that, to be at that approaches grade level, but the state doesn't look at them as on target and meeting grade level going into that year. Did not meet, obviously what it stands for is they didn't meet the content level that they felt that had a sufficient understanding, and normally what we see is that there is, I want to say ongoing academic intervention, but I hate to use that word because it's one day in the life of a student. And as a classroom teacher, I could have a kid that did a great job all year and had a crappy day, or had something going on at their home life and missed it by a question. So although I consider these harsh, I guess, statements, we don't lose sight that we're still talking about kids, and it is still a score, and there's a lot more to a student than just that one score. But I did want to associate what we're looking at tonight. Star performance, I'm a big Bloom's taxonomy person, and that's kind of that instruction side of me. And one of the things that, to me, is a good depiction of where we see kids hitting when we're talking about the performance levels is if we stay at that level of, I always say that regurgitating of facts, nothing but the facts, we're just looking base level, that's your approaches level. The kids, if you're kind of getting in there, and when I say that, think about you're applying, you're analyzing, you're comparing, you're contrasting, you're kind of looking at that, that's hitting your meets. Then think about really diving even deeper into that. That's going to hit your masters as we're kind of looking forward. Okay, elementary performance. And what I did was I highlighted if Mount Vernon was at or above, or excuse me, actually above the state and regional level. So these would be the state of Texas and then all schools in Region 8 and how Mount Vernon compares to them. So everywhere that you have indicated in green, we were above that level, okay, at the regional and state level. So again, could not be more proud of seeing the growth for the elementary campus in those areas moving forward. So still have some work to do in the master's grade level, but again, that's pushing rigor in the classroom, and that is just about changing instructional activities and getting more comfortable in the content. And I call them the risk takers. It's kind of that fail forward where a teacher has some success, then they branch out and try some different things without that fear of, oh, I'm not going to get every student there. So, middle school level, again, and I've said this before, we have strong teachers at the middle school campus, and you've got a cohesive group. And again, when you have a campus that's coming up with targeted intervention and a targeted plan, that is impacting the next campus. So as we have worked with our elementary campus, you're bringing up a stronger student that the middle school campus will also have. So you kind of think about that middle campus is doing a lot of intervention and teaching on grade. So over the course of the years, what they've overcome, hopefully we're going to see these scores start to rise as well. But again, sixth grade reading and math across the board hit above regional and state level. 7th grade math and 8th grade. So again, just spotlighting that our math, really strong academic at the math level, to be hitting in all 3 levels. So again, that master's level, we kind of throw out 90, 60, 30 as the goal. That was kind of the Commissioner Morath's statement when he rolled into those NORC performance standards. And are we being competitive with the regional schools in our area? Again, remembering 7th grade writing will not be there next year. So kind of going forward. High school level. And again, what I've tried to do is break out, because we do have Algebra 1 at the middle school, and the middle school does earn distinctions for that. And so not really feeling fair to lump everything in. So you're going to see me start branching out so that you can really appreciate what the Algebra 1 group is doing at the middle school and what they're doing at the high school, so it doesn't skew those percentages. So again, going into your EOC scores, US History did have the score at or above regional and state or the high school level. Okay, any questions on any of that performance data? So I want to draw your attention to the page that I handed you, and the reason that I did that is we forget what the target is. And I don't use percentages in here, and I do that for a reason. The percentages fluctuate year to year based on the raw score measure on our assessments, meaning that some of those questions weight heavier some years than other questions. I kind of compare it to when you go grocery shopping and you buy apples. Well, you might get 6 apples for this price, and then you go back to the grocery store and you might get 8 apples for this price. But the pricing is the same. So you kind of think of the questions being the same way. You might have larger apples one year and you have smaller apples and you get more of them. That's how it varies with the percentage. So the percentage constantly shifts, and I say that, again, usually a couple of percentage points, but the scale score stays the same. So the cost is the same, but there is a fluctuation on how many you have to get right each year based on that. So if you can look at the approaches level, you will see on average, you have to hit about 50% correct on the test, give or take what the grade and the content area is to hit that approaches level, okay? So if you look at the needs level, you see that that fluctuation changes. I say on average, you're at about the 70% rate. That's what people are most comfortable with, because you think about when you went to school, 70 was passing. So you kind of think to hit needs, they need to be getting approximately 70% or higher of content mastery at the end of that year. Your master's level, again, you're ranging anywhere from 84 to 90% to hit master's level. So that's percentage correct going into that. So again, just want to spotlight what the goal is. Goals, not approaches. Goals definitely meets and masters. So people ask a lot, well, on our common unit assessment, why don't we use the approaches level? It's not the target. Targets, meets, and masters, so we usually use 70 and 90 for our common unit assessment percentage goals. So again, because we're about to go into testing, so just to give you an idea, again, where our targets are. Okay. All right, so jumping into CCMR, or College Career Military Readiness. The indicators fluctuated a little bit, but not much. On the college readiness, we had no changes. On the career military readiness, they took off the CTE coherent sequencing as something that they're measuring. So now what we're looking at is actually a certificate that they need in industry level certification. The other thing that they added, number 10, enlist in the armed forces. We are struggling to have an accurate number on that. So the Department of Defense is reporting one number, and then the schools in the state of Texas are reporting another number. And because they have not had a good mode of data disaggregation and to really determine if there's an appropriate enlistment or not, they're not counting that in CCMR right now. So just FYI, as we work forward with that, we're tracking enlistments, but it's not impacting anything to do with our accountability at this time. Okay, going into college career military readiness, we had some increase in ticks. So the CCMR, meaning that if you were indicated in that, you met one of those 9. And the only college ready, that is your college ready column. Okay, so any student that met that, and then only your career or military ready, again, you're meeting one of those indicators in the description on that piece. Okay, so again, slight increase. And remember, we're looking at 1920 data. Even though this is a 2021 taper, we're trending a year behind in how they're disaggregating that information. Okay, so it's always a little confusing because we're actually talking about STAR in the spring of last year. We're talking about even a year before when we're getting into CCMR data. And then when we start talking about post-secondary, we're even further behind in there. So just hang with me on what we're talking about. Okay. Going back in, To your dual credit courses, sorry, skipped right through that. We are up with our 1920 graduates with what we're seeing from state and district level. We were down from our prior year, but not much. We were at 50.3% of our students taking dual credit course offerings. So going into the 2020 graduates, you were at 43.2. So not much variance, just a little bit of a drop. Okay, this is the updated slide that I gave you. Dual credit courses offered. All I did was expand out. I had articulated at the bottom, and so I just expanded out the courses that we're offering just so that you can see. We do have several dual credit course offerings. Those are taught by our teachers here, or they're facilitated by a teacher and taught through NTCC's online platform. Okay. TSI results, again, these are for your 2020 graduates that we're looking at. So TSI results, meaning that they hit the TSI criteria to considered performance through the state of Texas. So for our reading, again, comparing state and district data for you there. In our reading, we're still striving above the state percentage. For math, we were still low, or I say low, a little bit below the state percentage. And then in both subjects combined, we were a little bit above the state percentage, okay? On your district report that I gave you in your packet, it does list the state and Mount Vernon's demographics, just so you can see the difference. When we're talking about the state, remember the state doesn't look like Mount Vernon ISD. So when you're thinking demographically, you want to look at who do we compare with. So that's why I also gave you the area comparison of our school districts around us with their breakout demographically. So there's a reason Winsboro's a rival. They're the closest around us that kind of matches. So don't want Jessica, she's always like, don't wear red, Chandra. We don't wear red in the office. So I don't want to trigger any Winsboro rivalry. But I do look at their data as well because they are close to us demographically. Okay. Going into SAT, ACT results. For students tested, so according to the state, 76.7% of the students across the state of Texas, we're only trending about 52% of our students testing in SAT or ACT, and that again was your 2020 graduates going in. So you're gonna see that number spike, I think, a little bit more as you have more students that are attempting ACT just to see performance-wise. That's also been one of those areas where we've had students that's been kind of a deterrent. Oh, you're not going to college, don't worry about taking that. And I'm like, absolutely take it. You never know, they may go into a 2-year. It also opens scholarship opportunities. So there's some good benefits to taking it too. Also opens up some recruitment measures. If you've had any kids take SAT or ACT and they check the little box, they start flooding in some mailers just on information and some interest that they may have marked on that. Okay. Going into 2020 graduates, to hit the at or above criterion, again, that was based on hitting the SAT and ACT requirements for that. We had 32.8% hit at or above criterion for success on SAT and ACT. Average SAT score. You have to score a 1600 to make a perfect score, just as a reminder on that total score. So trending at 986 is the average for all subjects. The score requirement for ELAR writing is an 800. So we're looking at 499 as the average for our SAT. Mathematics, again, score requirement is an 800. We're tracking at 487. I will tell you, SAT is not pushed like it was back in the day. What I hear mostly pushed is ACT just because it's a more well-rounded test. And usually the question is if you're a strong English student or a strong math student, they kind of push you in the SAT route. Mine has always been don't discount yourself if you've got some good critical thinking skills, because how you test in both of those is a little different. One, you guess, the other one you don't guess. So it's also knowing your skill set to determine which one you want to take. Okay, average ACT score. ACT perfect score is a 36 going into this one. And again, our 2020 graduates trended almost identical to the state of Texas for ACTs for that graduating year. They were just 1 point below in science, but hitting 20s across the board. Now, this one is, I want to say, is a data anomaly, because it's an odd percentage to throw out, which makes me wonder what happened in the data there. The Texas Institute of Higher Education, so that's the one that we really trend behind because we're looking at students going into post-secondary and what they're reporting within the Texas Higher Education Board. This was our 18-19 graduates, so this was even a year beyond. And what it looked at is how many of our students enrolled into higher education. And that could have been a public or independent college or university in Texas following the academic year. But what threw me off was we threw a 2% ratio on completing 1 year without a development education course. What that meant is they didn't score high enough to go right in and avoid that, I call it the remediation math class. If you didn't score high enough, or they had you take an English to kind of prep you before you went into college English. What caught me, which made me look up how they were doing this formula, was it didn't make much sense to have such a drop from what we had the year prior. And how they're measuring that, it's the number of graduates that are enrolled and that met the TSI requirement in all subjects. So they aren't necessarily tracking, did they enroll in a developmental course? They're doing a different formula calculation. So that's a little skewed for what the label says. So I'm gonna throw that one out just because I think it's wrong. It's weird data. Okay. This one is the one that I definitely want us to pursue moving forward as far as I'd like us to see some higher numbers here. Again, this is 2019 graduates. This will be your 18-19 school year. And what the state is tracking is how many kids go to a 4-year, 2-year, or independent college. But one of the things I found interesting on this, out of 127 students, that was a pretty large graduating class, you had 56 not found. So a not found is usually, what I see in that usually is they've gone out of Texas. So they've gone to Arkansas, they've gone to Oklahoma, Tennessee, you're going to an out-of-state college. But normally that says they had a trackable number. We didn't find them in any Texas college. We're making an assumption they may have pursued an out-of-state, or we just don't know what happened to them. So your not founds can also be your out-of-staters, but it would be surprising to see 56 students have attended that graduating class out of the state of Texas. So I don't believe they pursued any higher ed, or we may have had a handful. So that's a number we'll have to start tracking to see how it works on here. But the area that I found interesting is out of that group, you had 44 that went into a 2-year. Okay, so think about your NTCC, your PJC. What the state is looking at is in your fall, spring, and summer semester. So if you took fall, spring, and any summer classes, it's looking at your GPA that first year of college. So out of that, we had 36% of our students hit below a 2.0 that first year at a 2-year university or college. Okay, so again, first junior college, PCC. So as we swing forward, now I can say on the other side of that, you have over 30% that had a 3.5 and up. Okay. So we can have a lot of things that can add to why we had a really interesting first year of college or 2-year college, as we all know, and what college found. There's a lot of distractions that happen. But for the future, one of the areas that I definitely want us to see going forward is we definitely want students hitting a 3.0 and higher in that first year. So moving forward, we're hoping to have this number as we start working post-secondary, that this number is also going to increase. So we want to make sure what we're generating out of this high school is being successful in a college environment as well. Okay, so I'm going into that. Okay, student information. And again, this was me talking about the demographics. So this just breaks down Mount Vernon based on the 2021 and then the state of Texas. So some areas that you can see, obviously demographically speaking, we vary across Texas. Economically disadvantaged, we're tracking really close to the state percentage. Our special education program percentages and our at-risk numbers. So in those type of programs, we're definitely tracking very close. But you can't negate that there is changes and challenges to different programs and populations and how we need to intervene and support them. So just again, as a reminder of what we look like versus the Texas as a whole. Student enrollment by program. So what I did was I wanted you to take a look and see the percentage changes from 1920 to 2021. And something that you're going to notice is every number is increasing. So one of the areas, for example, dyslexia, the state has a screening earlier. So that's obviously going to increase those numbers because we're going to be capturing students who have dyslexia need earlier. But so is bilingual ESL, so is special education, and so is 504 support. So what that means is that we're going to need to ensure that we're putting an appropriate intervention, just like we do for academic support for students who may have additional service needs. So those numbers are going to continue to increase. Craig and I talk about that a lot. Craig Watson's not here tonight. Definitely what we're seeing in special ed and 504 has had a strong increase with the state kind of lifting off that SPED cap that we used to have in the past that we don't have anymore. On the staff information, again, for 2021, our breakdown, professional staff, we were at 64%. We have approximately 13% educational aides, and we're running about 24% auxiliary. Of course, our largest population we employ are teachers at almost 53% of our staffing. So that is a large voice, obviously, in a large population that we support here. Teacher information going in, and again, looking at our 2021 information. And something that, of course, and I've said this several times, is we do have a good group of experience by number of years. So you can see on here, the state of Texas has approximately 6.7 beginning teachers, meaning 0 year, brand new to the profession. For 2021, we had less than 1% of our teachers in the classroom with 0 years experience. So the fact that we have more than the state 6 to 10 years experience, again, trending, and then our 21 to 30 year experience, again, says that we're keeping teachers, or teachers with experience are staying with us. So that's a very important piece we want to definitely keep. Okay, campus performance objectives. In the annual report, part of that is we pull the campus performance objectives from the campus improvement plans that they presented to you in November, and then they do progress checks on that. So they just completed their progress in February. Those are also in our annual report for people to view. We did have one incident on violent or criminal incidents, and it was a knife. So the education code requirement is a knife over 5.5 inches is considered a lethal weapon. And we did have a student at the high school that had a knife that we did have to report that. So that's our only hit this year under our violent or criminal incidents. And that did happen at the high school level. School violence prevention and intervention, that has not changed. I do know that we had a safety audit. I can't speak on that. I'll let Dr. McCullough speak on that. But we have maintained our process with our violence prevention and emergency operations plan. Questions? Okay. If you have any questions on any of the additional attachments or any clarification, feel free to email Dr. McCullough, and I can also. On that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chandler.
Okay. We're on to our action items. Chandler, you'll be back in a minute, right?
Yep, I'll be right back.
So, item A, consider appointment of Pam Vandenberg as and/or her successor as the plan administrator for the Mount Vernon ISD 403B plan and the national plan fiduciary for the trust.
So what this is so the 403B plan that you approved as part of my contract has to be set up and has to have a plan administrator. This allows Ms. Pam to be that, or anybody who ever fills that position over the 5-year period. How it has to be set up.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Any motion for that?
Super short, super.
You had 3.
I'll start with Josh. Motion made by Josh, seconded by Leanne. All 4. That's 7-0. Okay.
Thank you.
I think it's the first time it's ever done.
Item B, consider approval of revised 2021-2022 stipend extra duty compensation list.
I highlighted the area that I'm requesting board action to update. We only had 7 teachers last spring out of 120 plus teachers even interested in summer school. With the changes to House Bill 4545 and the requirements for us to intervene earlier, we need summer school. So I'm hoping with increasing from $30 an hour to $50 an hour, that will hopefully pique some interest to have some teachers come out of the woodwork that are interested in summer school.
So we had 7 last year.
We had 7 last year. The principals are working on that number right now. The goal, what the state is kind of, I guess the charge they've given us is once STAR scores come out, which we should have preliminary numbers mid-May, they want us to invite and intervene the 30-hour requirement by subject within our summer school program. So what we'll look at is how many students did not pass STAR, and what does that number look like? And then also any students that need to attend for attendance requirements to make up seat time to place or promote, and then of course high school students. We've been running 3 teachers at the high school for summer school because they go through an online credit recovery program, so that just takes a facilitation in a computer lab as opposed to certified teachers. Elementary and middle, we don't have that luxury of having an online curriculum that's robust that'll give credit. So I anticipate our need will be greater at the elementary and middle school for teaching staff. Another option, if we don't have Mount Vernon teachers interested, we will have to recruit and open to area teachers to apply to teach.
So how long is summer school?
Normally it's 4 weeks.
How many hours a day, maybe?
It will probably be this summer, it'll be 5 hours. In the past, we've run 4 hours. So we're thinking with the 30-hour hit, if we run a 4-week program, we'll probably need to add an hour to hit that. We have had some teachers, and I always spotlight this, I did this when I was a teacher. We tag teamed, so one of us did 2 weeks, another teacher did 2 weeks. One did math, one did English, so I'm open to creativity. It just says, technically, it's a certified teacher in the content area, but I think if we had 2 math teachers that decided, I'll take 2 weeks, you take 2 weeks, we could work it that way. And that way, a teacher is still getting some summer time. For me, that was great time. That's how we went on vacations as a family. I mean, that was good money as a teacher back then, so. Hoping this will some staff.
Okay. All right. Need a motion. We approve the revised 2021-2022 stipend extra pay compensation list as presented.
I'll make that motion.
That motion is made by Scott. It's seconded by Robert. Of course, for that one. That's 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay. Item C, consider approval of proposed revisions to EIC local policy academic achievement class ranking.
Okay, what you have before is proposed revision for EIC local. What we uncovered was our practice was not matching policy. So what the practice had been is what is stated. So high school students in grades 9 through 12 were class ranked in GPA. Any courses that were taken, high school courses that were taken at the middle school were not being calculated in. So in reviewing this, so the way that the wording in policy was, in my understanding, and I hate that Mr. Glover is here, so I don't want to speak out of turn for him. He said since he has been here, they have not been taking any middle school, high school courses completed into GPA calculation. It has been only grades 9 through 12. So what this does is, again, this updates the practice. But I will tell you, in doing some data calculation, looking at the junior class specifically, one of the things that I did not realize until I kind of dug in was not every 8th grader took the same high school courses. And they didn't even take the high school courses offered that they could all take. So I looked at a cluster of 20 students, looked at the top 20 for the junior class, and looked at what 8th grade courses they took and then did some GPA calculation to see, was this truly equitable based on those variables? And what I found was 19 of the 20 took principles of business, marketing, and finance. So I don't know why number 20 didn't. We had students that had the opportunity to take Algebra 1 because that was a more rigorous course. But that is also a gatekeeper course. You do have to make a certain grade and average to even be open to take that. And we offered Theater 1 that not everyone took. 6 of 20 took Theater 1. So just in those variables, to truly be equitable, we need to kind of have a level playing field to say, okay, starting in grade 9, now you have the opportunity to take honors classes, you have the opportunity to take dual credit classes, we do have additional weighting. Middle school parents aren't usually thinking GPA and class rank yet. They're thinking, oh, this is a high school course, great. Or they don't even know that. We've just given some electives out there and the kids have decided to take it. The intent behind why students take high school courses in 8th grade is to clear their schedule to take upper level courses as high schoolers and get heavy weighted courses. So with all of those factors considered and the variables that we saw just in that kind of that data set, I feel like this is definitely more equitable going with grades 9 through 12.
So kind of to make it simple, and I may be way off here, but we're gonna accept 8th grade.
No, we're
Just
not.
opposite.
Huh?
Just opposite.
Just the opposite. We were doing it, but now we're not.
We haven't been doing it. Policy stated we did. But the practice, and again, I don't want to go past Mr. Glover because I only spoke with Mr. Glover and Ms. Stevens, so I can only say from when they've been instead of doing GPA and class rank. Since that time that I could actually determine, they've been doing grades 9 through 12. Our course catalog said we were doing grades 9 through 12. Almost every publication except for policy said we were calculating GPA and class rank based on high school courses starting in grade 9. So I think this was probably put in, but then changes of leadership and it somehow someone made a decision and it's just rolled. But it is a fair one. In all schools that I have been to, and I can attest for that, this has been the policy in place. It is the most fair and equitable. What other questions? Mr. Sanders, you look like you have a question.
Process thinking, I mean, I'm glad we got it right now, but it's gonna affect a lot of kids. So there's just that gap in there and you have to correct things. Thinking about how it would have affected like students that moved in and,
But you're saying we haven't even been acting on it.
No.
Right, it's staying the same.
So we're just like making
it.
Policy is becoming a practice.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll tell you, this is the 3rd district I've cleaned this up in. So this is not uncommon. Some form of BIC local. This is because it is usually the most litigated because you're talking about GPA and class rank. It's a big deal. And you're talking about scholarship money, you're talking about college admission. I mean, it's a crucial piece that as a school district you've got to get right. And so yes, so it's not uncommon to find some board policies that for some reason either hadn't been updated and we're finding, oh, we haven't been doing it that way. This is the practice we've done for years. So this is just a policy revision to support legally what we've been doing in practice.
We're just cleaning it up.
Exactly. Exactly.
We need a motion to approve the proposed revisions to EIC local academic achievement class rankings as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Brooke, seconded by Leanne. All 4. That's 7-0. Okay. On to item D here, consider approval of 2021-2022 application for staff development waiver.
Okay, what you have before you is TEA allows us to recuperate up to 2,100 operational minutes if we have had staff development during the school year. So of course, with things that have happened this school year, kind of going back and going, where can we recuperate? So we do have an available staff development waiver that we'd like to put in place to approve for 21-22. And I would like to also go ahead and put that in action for 22-23 as we're preparing the 22-23 year. So we do have those additional 2,100 minutes available if needed.
So explain that again, explain that to me, so.
So if you look at an academic calendar, and we have, like, poor Jamie who's going to Reading Academy. So we have those academic professional development dates. So used to, before operational minutes, we could do a waiver for 5 of those dates. The kids weren't required to be here, the state didn't penalize us. Well, then operational minutes come about, and we have to have 75,600 operational minutes. So the state doesn't really care when you take those days and when you go, as long as you hit that. But the state has allowed us to still waive so many minutes for professional development that we can kind of waive in lieu. So you think about the 75,600 and you minus 2,100 minutes. So we can claim up to 2,100 for staff development to support that. So that way, for example, bad weather, we have an issue, we do have, knock on wood, something happen where we have to close, like a water main breaking. Things that we don't, when we're sitting here planning out the calendar, that I'm thinking, and here's me, McCullough, nope, we can't have any minutes. Chandler, I need a half a day. No, sir, we have no minutes. No minutes is fair. So when you're looking at that, 2,100 minutes can help you. So we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of a waiver we have. Not that we're going to stick it in, we're going to still keep 75,600, but it is nice to know we have a little bit more of a buffer, up to about 4 days, if something wonky happens.
Okay.
I call it the buffer.
That's what I was wanting you to explain, that way if we get questions on it, then
Yes.
we kind of know, so, because, yeah.
It keeps us from extending our school day, it keps us from having
Where are we
to
at on our
go-
minutes right now?
When we started, we had less than half a day. I have literally less than half a day right now.
So if we had another water break or a power outage or
We would be
couldn't
okay.
cook food, we had to let out, this saves
Up
us
to
from
that
having
2,100
to
Correct.
make it up.
Yes. Last year, we had a good buffer because we started school early, so we didn't really have to worry about the waiver. We had enough days built in. This year, we thought we'd have enough days built in, and then if a great thing like playoffs happen, and which is amazing, and then
COVID, thin weather.
COVID closure,
Water
and
main.
so we just keep whittling down. So it makes me more nervous. I definitely like to have a good buffer in place. So again, this just gives us that additional 4 days to have in case we need it.
It truly will be just in case we need it.
Yeah.
I mean, correct.
It is, yes, for
We will
emergency
not be-
purposes.
It will be emergency only with these 4 days will be used.
Is that like notice for the board, so we don't
Just,
start covering?
just all of a sudden, I think if she said, McCullough comes and. Hey, think we can have a day off here? No.
I'm not real giving, so usually,
Yeah.
no minutes to spare.
Gotta keep it.
We don't have any.
4 days.
We're not getting out the second week of May.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, he made that clear. All right. Any other questions while Chandler's up there on that one? I move we approve the 2021-2022 application for staff development minutes waiver for the 2021-2022 and 2022-2023 school year as presented. We need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Linda. All 4. 7. Consider engagement letter with Rutherford, Taylor and Company, PC for independent audit services.
This is just, agreement with our accounting firm that does our audit each year. And so this is just, up, to sign back up with them again. Ms. Pam is.
You're saying Pam is
Yeah.
saying they're good.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we need a motion to approve the audit engagement letter with Rutherford and Taylor and Company as presented. Motion's made by Linda, and seconded by Robert. All for that one. 7-0.
Thank you.
Consider approval of requesting RFQ for design, build, construction method for any future construction projects involving athletic facilities and fields.
This opportunity for us to go out and receive qualifications, requests for qualifications from different companies whose main job is working on athletic facilities and fields, to kind of move us ahead, to at least have somebody in mind pending the outcome of the bond vote in May. And so again, it's different from we've already committed to construction manager at risk for all the pieces up here based on Proposition A. This would be for Proposition B in athletic fields. Again, this is just request for qualifications. We're not choosing anybody. We're just putting that out, and we'll receive those and go through a process to choose who that would be.
And those would be good for a long time, probably, if we get some.
Could, yes.
And benefit us in some ways.
Correct.
If we needed them, maybe. Is that right? So, any further questions about that? All right, so we need a motion for approval of requesting RFQ for design, build, construction method for any future construction projects involving athletic facilities, fields. That's made by Robert, seconded by.
I'll second.
Seconded by Linda, all for. 7-0.
Okay, thank you.
Item G, consider approval of resolution for superintendent of the year nomination. So, I would like to nominate, or as a board, we would like to nominate Dr. McCullough for superintendent of the year. And to do that, we have to act on it. So, are there any questions on that? I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Scott. All for? 7-0.
Wow.
Still got to sign off.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored that you would think so. But I will say that it is mostly because of these folks up here and some who are not here tonight are able to be here that any of this is even possible. They're phenomenal. Again, so much of this is because of Miss White for sure, and her vision for curriculum and instruction and what you've seen what she did tonight and what she presented and the work that she does. And thank you, appreciate it very much.
Yep. And we'll start the work, and we appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Because Miss White and a lot of them, but before they were here and before you were here, just all this other stuff working up to when you got here, what you've done, and the community relations and whatnot, takes a lot of stuff. So let's move on to H.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Adopt order of cancellation declaring unopposed candidates Lee Ann Ramsey, position 3, and Aaron Sanders, position 4, duly elected.
Question, I didn't think about this before,
Yes.
because we're not canceling the election as a whole, because we're gonna have a bond.
So we called TSI on that, and so they're actually Leanne and Aaron's names will be on the ballot with the bond.
So we don't need to do this, because we're gonna have a bond election, so we're not canceling the election.
We're canceling the school board of trustees election.
Not if they're on the ballot.
But you would
still
have
gonna
one
vote.
ballot no matter what.
It's just that they will be unopposed. It won't matter, they're gonna get it because they're unopposed, but I'm with her.
We're
Is
just
there a timeline you have to
canceling.
cancel it?
You can't put me on the spot about
That's
that.
good.
I have to go look at the
And on the
Secretary of
record,
State.
too.
Yeah, on the record as well.
I have to double check that with the Secretary of State's
It
office.
does make sense.
Because we're saying we're canceling the election scheduled to be held on May 7th, which we're not doing. We're just not having to have a trustee portion of that election.
Yeah, just we might better just.
And I'm sorry, I didn't think about that. I've been in
Until we get the
my election
I see it as
mode.
two different elections. bond election,
Yeah, but if it's
Board
still,
of
if they're
Trustee
still on
election.
the ballot,
they're still on the ballot.
I mean,
So they said that we.
And we, as a board of trustees, are calling the bond
Yeah.
election, so it's all in the,
the way it's worded.
right,
Yeah, because this is a Secretary of State form.
because we
This
are
is
not
not a school-
canceling
Yeah,
the
it's a
election as a whole.
Yeah.
Correct.
We don't wanna do something that says we're,
Sure, yeah, they were canceling the bond.
Correct.
right.
Jessica, next year we'll be like, what's saying, we'll be calling you.
I'm gonna get very informed on this before next year.
Hey, at least you get a semi-easy year on this election.
I'm happy about the election, I'm nervous about the law.
Let's hang on to this. I'll text in our time, just,
Okay. Yeah,
we
let's
can,
We might come back.
Come back.
we can table it right now and come back after closed session, do something, I'll find out for sure.
Okay. We'll just move it to the end.
We're gonna take no action on that right now.
Okay, so we'll table item H. We have to have, I think we have to have a motion to lay that on the table. I need a motion to lay item H on the table. Motion made by Robert, second by, let me get another.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Second by Scott, all four? I don't think it matters, but
Yeah, no,
7-0.
I agree.
Because I mean, you could vote on that anyways, but, okay.
All right, enrollment totals, March 1st, shows a total of 1513, which is up 49 from last year, but it is down about 14 from end of January. So, so we have had some movement, just some different folks that have left. But actually, we've had a couple move-ins since that time as well, but we've had, three
Today.
today.
Move in today?
I was supposed to say move in or out.
One family or one?
I'm
Is
sorry.
it one family that,
No, two families.
two families?
Coming in and out.
Are you moving this into closed session? Sorry, we're not even said that yet.
I am, are you all ready?
We're ready.
Okay,
6:38.
all right. The board now convenes into closed session at 6:38 PM.
Okay.
8:24, board convenes back into open session in the PM.
8:24.
So, we're over here to 11. Consider renewal of professional contracts as recommended.
I'd like to make a recommendation for the teacher contracts as presented in your board book. I won't go through and read all of them, but they are there by campus, presented by your principals.
Any questions on that? Okay, and let's acknowledge the resignations.
Yeah, let's go and do a motion on that.
Yeah.
So we need a motion on that?
Please, sir.
Okay. I need a motion that we renew the professional contracts as recommended by the superintendent.
So moved.
Motion made by Brooke,
Second.
seconded by Josh, all four. 7 on those contracts.
Thank you very much.
Now we'll do the acknowledged resignations.
We have resignations from Patrick Barron, Debbie Dunkel, Aaron Parnell, and Jody Walker.
Any further business?
What goes tabled?
Wait, are we gonna leave that table or what?
Let's wait on that to get clarification on that, if that's okay.
So we're gonna do that, and we probably need to postpone that, because table you have to come back. So I need a motion that we postpone the order, postpone item H.
I make that motion.
Motion is made by Scott. Second by Josh, all four. So we'll postpone
Okay, thank you.
item H. All right. Thank you all.
Adjourn at
The meeting will be adjourned here,
8:26.
8:26 p.m.
Thank you all very much.